So welcome back to episode 2. This is for the Arkle, which I don't think this episode's going to take very long because Shishkin wins. All agreed? Done?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've got to talk about it in a bit more context than that because, I mean, Shishkin does win, especially if the Irish aren't allowed to come over, although there's nothing there that I'm too scared about. I know there's one that Matt mentioned to me a while ago that he's going to talk about, so I won't mention him. I can't have All Mankind in the slightest, even the fact that he's second fav, like, it just makes me just realise just how poor the rest of them are. I feel like they're all much of a muchness in the background. I'm so gutted that Classical Dream didn't run over Christmas. I have no idea what was wrong with Felix de Gea. Like, what I didn't even know tactically what that was. I know obviously Gordon Elliott's horses weren't going well and he probably scoped bad or something after, but it was too weird to be true. Shishkin just looks like an absolute monster, doesn't he? But if we're thinking Shishkin wins and then maybe they're going to do without market at some point in these bookies, there's got to be something we could be thinking that could come in here. Energumene, lots of people talk about him, time people, wouldn't they? Elixir, don't know, I think he's out for the season. Matt, I'm going to come to you because I know there's one that you can talk about at least more than I can.
Unaccepted, I presume you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I really like him, mate. Liked him, thought he was a live one for the Supreme after his maiden hurdle. And then his season sort of curtailed after that, didn't it? But I think he's a lot better than his hurdle mark was. And Chase debut was really, really good, I thought. He just attacks his fences, doesn't he? If you just let him go, wind him up, let him go from the front, attack his fences. Yeah, he's had a setback though, I think, hasn't he? We didn't see him over Christmas, so that's the one caveat with him. But I think he's the type for if in an Arkle he could bolt out from the front, get into a jumping rhythm, and then it's catch me if you can. I don't know if he's up to beating Shishkin, but yeah, I'm really like Unaccepted.
And then Jamie, because it was obviously an Irish race, I might as well come to you for this. It's probably racist to say that, but never mind. I did quite like him as I felt like he was the obvious one against Shishkin to be going for. And then the Irish racing, like over Christmas, Gordon Elliott's horses just didn't seem to be performing well. Jack Kennedy gave him a weird ride. We know Felix de Gea is probably a little bit quirky, so maybe it was more the horse. I just could imagine this race cutting up to being like a really small field, and it probably suiting Felix de Gea. But is he one that you like, or is there anything else that you think over there that could be getting anywhere near Shishkin?
I hate to break it to you, Matt, but I couldn't have Unaccepted here anyway. Sorry, bud. Unaccepted, like that day, Captain Guinness had an irregular heartbeat, and what was the difference in the price? For Captain Guinness, but look, Shishkin's going to win, bar accidents. But I like the one you mentioned earlier, Dave, for say the second or third, and it's Energumene. Yeah, she looks a monster. Looks a monster altogether. He does, and look. In another year, what price an Energumene be for this race? Like, do you know what I mean? But like, to be honest, just move on. Shishkin will win. If you want to back Energumene without or each way 16-1, best of luck to you. No, I definitely back Captain Guinness. Sorry, in front of Unaccepted. But for me, each way value Energumene. But I wouldn't be that confident at all, Dave. Look, anything can happen because the only thing is, like, they're all front runners. Captain Guinness. Energumene, Unaccepted, and All Mankind. Like, they're going to go off fucking at a stupid pace altogether. And Shishkin will just pick up the pieces at the end when they're cried out the washing two out.
Absolutely. And the thing is, because I'm not really an each way punter, like every now and again, I know there's good opportunities to do it, especially when you can squeeze the extra plays of that stuff. I really do just think this race is probably going to cut up quite a bit. So you could end up having a small one. Might be something as a bit of value. Mr. Carter. I know, like Matt said last year, you were taken by it. His maiden hurdle last year didn't really come to fruition. He one you like or not really? And I know Felix de Gea as well ruined you over Christmas, just like he did me. Do you hate it? Oh.
Never back that horse again. I will never back that horse again.
I agree. I never back that horse ever again.
It cost me an absolute fortune. That was just one of the weirdest rides I've ever seen. I did like Unaccepted last year. I did get sucked in by him. I think he had a setback last year as well, didn't he, around this sort of time? I did like his Chase debut at Tipperary. I get a little bit deflated when these Irish horses are allowed a soft lead out in front on their own and they just jump, and then they finish in almost a canto. I mean, he was a little bit tired at the finish, but 8 lengths clear of anything else. You just don't really learn anything about these horses when they do that. The difference with Shishkin is we've learned a bit about him. He was in a proper race at Kempton. He jumped fences at proper speed. He landed gut quicker than away. And the best part of his race was after the last at the finish when he just powered clear. Like he's a special horse. You don't get these type of horses that come around very often. And I think we should just all be in awe of him. I probably won't have a bet in this race. Probably not even in the without market, because like Jamie said, I think you're going to have a lot of front runners in here that's just going to try and run the finish out of Shishkin. But I think he stays further than this, and I think he relishes that hill like he did in the Supreme. Everything went wrong in the Supreme, and he still went and won. Like, good horses get the job done, and he's a very, very good horse. I suppose the one concern you could have with him is that sometimes on the landing side of his fence, he looks like he's going to knuckle a little bit. He looks like he's going to knuckle over a little bit sometimes. If you watch Kempton, go back and watch the race at Kempton at the final flight, Shishkin was obviously going a good gallop down to the last. Nico de Bourneville wanted to slow him down into the last, right? And sometimes when that happens, a jockey can force the horse to make a mistake and be out of the rhythm at the final flight. He did that, and if you watch Shishkin on the landing side, he just knuckled a little bit, and there was just a moment for a split second where you thought, oh, he looks a little bit weak on the landing side there, but I'm not entirely sure if that's down to the jockey or what that is. But the most important thing is when he's jumping at speed and when he's jumping at pace and when he's under pressure, that is actually when he's at his best. So that just is all the signs of a great novice for me. I mean, I think he's doing things that championship horses are doing at the moment. I think if you took him out of here and put him in Champion Chase, I think you'd give Chacon Poussoir a hell of a run for his money. So the likes of All Mankind and that in behind, for me, they're much of a muchness. I don't think you're going to get anything that's going to take him on. I think watch him in all. In terms of the without market, there's lots to choose from. And Ergemine is interesting, but that jumping needs work, serious work, because he's clattered a fair few fences on his way around. Now, that suggests that he's got a hell of an engine to do what he's done. But, you know, there is a mistake there in him. So he's probably a very risky bet. I'm interested to see Unaccepted again. It's a shame he's had a setback, like Matt said. But I would like to see him put into a proper race because I do think he's a decent horse. And he would be interesting for me if he lines up here in the without market.
Yeah. Tricky thing again, I suppose, it's not quite the same as the Supreme because this one's like proper banker material, isn't it? I just always wonder because I've backed him at the beginning of the season, 5-1, I think was top price that I got. I don't think he was too much bigger before, and Matt's probably got 50 sat there somewhere. But people would have backed him, wouldn't they? And then you look for like a little bit of cover to put on a couple of horses. Because Matt put me onto Unaccepted, I've got a bit in there. I did have a bit of Felix a while back, but these are like smallish stakes. Just feel like if anyone's already on Shishkin, like Daryl says, just sit back in awe. Like the only way this horse gets beat is by like an incident or like the stuff that we don't want to see in horse racing. So to just be throwing cash away on the off chance that something like negative happens in the race, I think it's a fairly foolish thing to do. I know obviously he's still got to get to Cheltenham, but as it stands now, I just don't think there's any horse behind him in the market that's worth risking any cash on. So nailed it again, didn't we? Well worth you watching the video. You didn't know any of that before you started watching this. So we'll wrap up the Arkle and then it's round 2, me and Daryl versus Epitanto.